we calming down now? Are we a little less stressed out this Monday morning? I'm Schuyler Callihan. This is another episode of Between the Eers. And yes, Chester Frazier, associate head coach of West Virginia men's basketball, putting in that work over the weekend, hosting a couple of his former players from Illinois, Sencire Harris and Amani Hansberry, both of which committed to West Virginia. So now the Mountaineers are starting to gain a little steam here with their roster. And it seems like a little bit of the freaking out period / panic period. It's starting to wear off a little bit, and for good reason. Not here to really talk too much about future guys or potential additions. We may do that later on this week, but today we'll center the focus around the two newcomers that West Virginia didn't get, and that is Sencire Harris and Amani Hansberry. So what are the Mountaineers getting with these two players? Well, first and foremost, before I start getting into what I look at both positively and negatively with these two, there's still a lot of question marks. Because with Harris, he played as a true freshman, 33 games, made 7 starts, didn't play a ton despite getting some starts, but took this past season as a redshirt. So he's got some question marks in regards to how much development he's had in that time, how much weight has he added. This is a skinny kid now. I mean, thin as a rail. So even in the visit pictures, he started to look a little bit more fuller, more built than I would say he probably did a year ago. But my guess is that he still has a little bit more work to do before he's probably at the weight that they want him to play at. With Hansberry, he's only entering year 2. He had a very limited role as a true freshman this past season. So how big of a step can he make in a situation where he's going to be playing a ton, we assume, right? Unless West Virginia finds some other very quality big men that can come in and start right away, which is possible, but don't know. The good thing is with both of these guys, you got 3 years of eligibility left. So it's not like you're bringing in a couple of Chester's old pals that are going to come in for a year and then you're going to be back in the same situation again next year. The thought process initially with these two kids was that you're getting not just a typical transfer. You're getting kind of like a Kerr Kriisa / Jesse Edwards type of impact here with these guys. Again, not comparing these guys to Kerr and Jesse in their games or anything like that. I'm just talking about the impact that these two can have, the level of impact that they can have. These are high-level guys. The good thing and the difference is you got 3 years to work with here. Kerr and Jesse, it was one and done, baby. It was make a big run if you can, and then you're going to have to replace them. Not with these guys. You can build with these two. When you go out in the portal and you're fishing around for more talent, you say, look, yeah, Tucker DeVries, he's only here for a year, but we've got Amani Hansberry, we've got Sencire Harris. Come join us. These two guys are going to be here helping us build into a Big 12 contender over the next 3 years. That's a good start. So let's start with Sencire here first. Very, very talented, very athletic, super fast guard that I think has got tremendous potential as a two-way player. Again, we didn't see a whole lot as a true freshman 2 years ago, but I think with the way that this coaching staff is going to preach defense and the way that he can run, he's got tremendous athleticism. I think he's going to be somebody that can really cause havoc on the defensive end of the floor because of his length. He's 6'4". If he fills out a little bit, he's going to be able to absorb contact and be able to be a little bit more aggressive and deal with guys when they drive it to the cup. Offensively, that's kind of his game. He likes to get to the rim. He can shoot. He will shoot. I think his percentages or his efficiency, they've certainly got to increase. But it was a small sample size. It was 2 years ago. It was his first year in college. Not going to put a whole lot of stock into that. But he's somebody that wants to get to the rim and finish. And again, building that strength, that's only going to help him finish more often than not. So, a player that's probably going to work at getting to the rim, kicking things out. But my goodness, I mean, talk about speed, bounce, just absolute quickness, twitchiness. I mean, this kid's got it. This kid has got it. Now, Amani Hansberry, double machine in my eyes. He's going to rebound the ball. He's going to rebound it. He's going to score it. The only question for me is, can he provide a level of rim protection that is sufficient enough to where it's not a concern, that you're not going to get carved up in the paint? It's not that he's a bad defender. He's got good footwork. He's got, good, I think, IQ in terms of body positioning when it gets down to the post. It's just, can he affect enough shots? Doesn't have to block them, but can he affect shots? That's something I think he needs to grow at. And it's probably something you're going to look at if you're Darren DeVries, Chester Frazier, when you're looking out in the portal. You're going to probably look for somebody that's kind of got that as their niche. You can bring in a guy that's going to block 2 or 3 shots a game, because that's what he does. That's what you need to add to this roster. Maybe to pair him with Hansberry. And I think Hansberry, he could be a 5. I don't think it's the most ideal situation to put him as a 5. I think he's more of a 4. So if there's a 5 out there that you see West Virginia talking to, don't be surprised if that's the direction they go and they put Hansberry at the 4 spot. But he can score. He can score, I wouldn't say inside and out just yet, but he can score in a variety of ways. Is probably the best way to put it. He can power through you. He can use his finesse and his athleticism. He's got nice touch around the rim. And the good thing about him too is he can pass the ball. He can really pass the ball for a big man. So a skilled big, an athletic guard, that's what West Virginia picked up over the weekend, both with 3 years of eligibility left. Great start, again, for Chester Frazier, Darren DeVries. A lot of work still left to do for those two and the rest of the coaching staff. But I believe we'll probably hear some more news at some point this week. And I would say probably by the end of this month, towards the first part of May, we'll start to have more of a full roster at that point. I don't know if it's going to get to 8 or 9, 10 players, but the pieces are starting to come together. So again, you can move past that panic stage, that freak out stage. And like I've said for the last week or two, it's okay. There's plenty of guys out there in the transfer portal. There's guys entering still every day. Duke is losing players still today. Baylor just picked up one of those players from Duke. There's still a lot of high-level players out there because of that whole situation where you have 3 different big-time coaching jobs open up that delayed things, put more guys in the portal, not only there, but at other places below there. So it's a crazy, crazy mess this transfer portal is this offseason. It's going to be okay. They're going to find guys, a lot of quality players still out there. And then, too, I think the other part of this is Chester Frazier. I mean, I think he's going to be a big part of this team moving forward. Obviously, he's got the ability to recruit, and not just because he landed two of his former players, but he landed these guys coming out of high school. I mean, we're talking about two consensus four-star players, both very, very highly rated. Harris was one of the top players in the state of Ohio. So I think this is a sign that Darren DeVries may have hit a home run, because it's one thing to get two highly recruited or two highly talented players to commit to you to play somewhere as an assistant. But when that assistant leaves for another job somewhere else and the head coach stays in place, yet they enter the portal and follow the assistant, that says a lot about that assistant and his ability to relate to players. I mean, you just see him on social media. He's a good follow. If you haven't followed him yet, I encourage you to do so. I don't have his handle pulled up here in front of me, but if I'm sure, I think it's something along the lines of Coach Frazier WVU or Chester Frazier WVU or something like that. If you just search that, it'll pop up. But he's a good follow, and it just shows you that relatability, and I think that passion to want to win, it shows through on his social media page. And I think kids nowadays, they want to see stuff like that. So I think it's huge. And maybe that's the biggest part of this whole weekend, not just landing two kids, but that he can land two kids that were highly recruited at two different spots. That's tough. That's a tough thing to do, and I think that shows a very bright sign of the future for WVU. So that's going to do it for me here today on Between Years. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on our YouTube page at Mountaineers Now. Give us a like as well, and go follow us on X at that same handle. And I'll be back here tomorrow morning for another episode.